Nobody saw it coming. That is the most important thing to understand before anything else. The executives at Volkswagen didn't see it coming. The boardroom at Toyota didn't see it coming. The engineers at Ford, the designers at BMW, the strategists at General Motors, none of them saw it coming. Not at the scale it is happening, not at the speed it is happening, and certainly not from a company that most people in the Western world couldn't even name a decade ago. BYD, Build Your Dreams, a Chinese manufacturer that started out making batteries for mobile phones in 1995. A company that Warren Buffett invested in back in 2008 when the rest of the world laughed. A company that has just become the single largest electric vehicle manufacturer on the planet, outselling Tesla, outgrowing every legacy brand, and expanding into market after market with a speed and aggression that the established automotive world has simply never encountered before. And the established automotive world is starting to panic, quietly, behind closed doors, in earnings calls and emergency strategy meetings, and hushed conversations between executives who spent their entire careers believing that making great cars was enough. It isn't, not anymore. Here is why BYD is quietly destroying every car brand you love, and why it is happening faster than almost anyone is willing to admit. Let's start with the thing that makes BYD genuinely structurally different from every other car manufacturer on Earth: vertical integration. Every major car brand on the planet buys components from suppliers, engines from one supplier, transmissions from another, electronics from someone else, seats, glass, steel, software. The modern car is an assembly of parts sourced from hundreds of different companies around the world. This is how the automotive industry has operated for over a century, and it works, until a competitor arrives that doesn't play by those rules. BYD makes almost everything in-house. BYD manufactures its own batteries, and not just any batteries. BYD's blade battery technology is widely regarded as one of the most advanced lithium iron phosphate battery systems in the world. BYD makes its own semiconductors. BYD develops its own software. BYD controls its own supply chain at a level that no Western manufacturer comes close to matching. What this means in practice is devastating for the competition, because when BYD controls every component, BYD controls every cost. And when BYD controls every cost, BYD can price its vehicles at levels that make Western manufacturers physically wince. BYD is selling fully electric vehicles in multiple markets at price points that legacy brands cannot match without losing money on every single unit. Not because BYD is cutting corners, but because BYD has built a manufacturing and supply chain ecosystem that is simply more efficient than anything the traditional automotive world has constructed. If this video is opening your eyes, hit subscribe right now. We cover the stories reshaping the automotive world every single week, and this one is only getting bigger. Now let's talk about the product, because one of the most dangerous misconceptions about BYD in the Western world is that BYD makes cheap, low-quality cars that only sell because they are inexpensive. That is simply not true, and the automotive journalists, fleet managers, and independent testers who have spent serious time with BYD products in recent years will tell you exactly that. BYD's vehicle lineup spans everything from genuinely affordable city cars to premium executive saloons to performance SUVs. The BYD Han, BYD's flagship luxury saloon, is a car that can legitimately be compared to a BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E-Class in terms of interior quality, technology, and refinement. The BYD Seal is a direct Tesla Model 3 competitor that independent reviewers have consistently rated as comparable or superior in key areas. The BYD Atto 3 has sold in enormous volumes across Europe, Australia, and Southeast Asia as a genuinely competitive, genuinely well-made family SUV. These are not imitation cars. These are not copies of Western vehicles wearing Chinese badges. BYD is developing original, sophisticated, technologically advanced vehicles with a development speed that the legacy manufacturers cannot match. While a traditional manufacturer takes 4 to 6 years to develop a new model from concept to production, BYD has compressed that timeline dramatically. BYD is moving at a pace the automotive world has never seen before from a single manufacturer. And then there is the global expansion, because BYD's strategy is not to compete in one market. BYD's strategy is to be everywhere, simultaneously, faster than the competition can respond. BYD is already the dominant electric vehicle brand in China, the largest car market on earth. BYD has aggressively entered markets across Southeast Asia, where BYD is now the best-selling electric vehicle brand in country after country. BYD has launched in Australia, in Latin America, in the Middle East, and in multiple European markets. With aggressive pricing, local partnerships, and a long-term commitment that signals this is not a short-term export experiment. BYD is building manufacturing plants outside China. BYD has announced factories in Hungary, in Brazil, in Thailand. BYD is localizing production to avoid import tariffs, the very tariffs that the European Union and the United States have introduced specifically to slow BYD's advance. And the speed with which BYD is responding to those tariff barriers by simply building locally demonstrates a strategic sophistication that caught the Western political and automotive establishment completely off guard. The tariffs were supposed to protect the legacy brands. BYD responded by becoming a local manufacturer. The chess move was already planned before the tariffs were even announced. Now let's talk about what this actually means for the brands you love. Because the numbers are not theoretical, the numbers are already here. Volkswagen, one of the most powerful automotive brands in history, announced factory closures in Germany for the first time in the company's entire existence. The official reason cited was the challenging market environment. The real reason is that Volkswagen cannot compete on electric vehicles at the price points BYD is offering. And Volkswagen's home market is buying BYD vehicles in volumes that were unthinkable 5 years ago. Ford has lost billions on its electric vehicle division. General Motors has repeatedly delayed and cancelled electric vehicle programs. Legacy manufacturers are caught between the enormous cost of transitioning to electric production and the brutal pricing pressure that BYD is applying from below. These are not small brands struggling at the margins. These are the companies that built the automotive world, and BYD is forcing every single one of them into a crisis of strategic identity that none of them have clear answers for. So is BYD actually destroying every car brand you love? Destroying might be the wrong word, for now. The legacy brands have enormous advantages. Brand recognition built over a century, dealer networks, financing arms, loyal customer bases, and engineering heritage that carries genuine weight with genuine buyers. BMW still makes extraordinary driving machines. Toyota still builds vehicles of legendary reliability. These things matter, these things still sell cars. But the direction of travel is undeniable. BYD is growing faster than any car company in history. BYD is profitable while Western electric vehicle programs bleed money. BYD is expanding into every major market simultaneously. And BYD is doing all of this with a product quality that is improving with every single generation, while the pricing remains brutally, structurally competitive. The brands you love are not dead, but they are under a pressure they have never faced before, from a competitor they underestimated for far too long. BYD didn't ask for permission to reshape the automotive world. BYD just started doing it. And the car brands you grew up loving are only now beginning to understand how serious that really is. Subscribe and tell us in the comments, would you buy a BYD? And if not, what would it take to change your mind?